Okay, my friends, it's Roger once again, and long ago when I first started this, I was studying deep earth geology and all of the things. Now, what I ended up realizing over 5 years ago, the earth was alive, completely alive and in trouble. Now, listen to this, because I'm going to show you the earth is alive, and I think it really is literally living today. Now, let's listen to this. Hello, before this goes, I want you to listen to the tone of my voice. When I first started this, I was very respectful. All I wanted was to engage in the research I was doing that showed that the earth was alive. And it shows it, watch. I'm coming to you today with some information that I stumbled across. I'm not an expert in anything. I study fossils in deep earth geology and you know how petroleum is sublimated out and the processes of the transitions of rocks and things like that in the earth. It's just sort of boring stuff, but I found some very interesting stuff, and as a result of that I started to investigate how the earth is creating these things and what these things are and so forth. And what you see here are blue holes, and these blue holes are all over the earth. And those holes, I've come to find out, and I have the supporting evidence, and I'm sure it's correct. You know, I'd certainly like to have it looked at. It could be wrong, but I'd like to see somebody come up with a contradictory, factual disagreement, and if it is right, it becomes critically important. Yeah, critically important, you're not kidding. That was like 5 or 6 years ago. Now, I did talk to Russians. They were having these sinkholes back then, and Japanese researchers told the Russians, get a hold of me. I talked to them. I said, there's nothing you can do. I said, the more they take out of the earth, obviously the more sinkholes you're going to get. And obviously that's happening. And over there in Russia, there was like 22 of them or something when they talked to me. I said, dozens of new craters. And they started had dozens and dozens, and they just kept going and going and going. And this is the size of these sinkholes, and they're all over the earth, and it's because the earth is biological. It's made out of, that's a rock, and that rock is a piece of meat, and that meat was attached to some form of a bone or something right up there, and that is the tendon attached to the muscle, and this is blood, and it's, you know, everything is well known now, and it's on Mars as well. There's the Mars crab, that's an artery, and that's a vein. Now, it's time to understand what we really are in our world. And there's this, now this is the key to show you it's alive. Now here they are, Jonathan's birds, blue world. Now here goes. They're diving through a blue hole, and let me see if I have the pictures here. No, it's in a different video. Oh no, it's in here. Okay. Well, let me just play it from here. Here goes.
Hovers high above the bottom to keep from kicking up silt. I perform a little experiment.
Listen
Down
to this.
on the bottom, I plunge.
Wait, before he goes to there. Here, so, this was a girl, boy, I can't remember. I think it was Brianne Kirby wrote this, Exploring Within, which is through one of these blue holes. And she said it's identical to a digestive system, and she is 100% correct. It is. Something's got to be looked at. This is a deep blue hole dive by Jonathan Bird. Jonathan Bird's Blue World, very good guy, and excellent on public TV. And here he goes. Listen carefully.
The bottom looks like it's sand, but it's actually a deep layer of silt. While Tim hovers high above the...
Just so you understand, this is as this blue hole they went down in. It goes out into the ocean. And here's what they did. They exited that blue hole into the ocean, and here's where they are.
Bottom to keep from kicking up silt, I perform a little experiment.
Listen
Down
to this.
On the bottom, I plunge my arm into the
what our
silt
mother
up to
is
my
eating.
shoulder, and it's even deeper than that. This is a layer of decomposing leaves and other organic stuff. The decomposition creates hydrogen sulfide, a deadly gas that smells like rotting eggs. The water is saturated with hydrogen sulfide, and I can smell it in the water that seeps around the edge of my mask.
We all know that smell. Okay, my friends, Roger, Mudfossil University, and I have to warn you, there's going to be graphic content here required to demonstrate what I have to demonstrate. Now, what are we going to demonstrate? Horsetail Fall attracts thousands of visitors each year. They come to see this phenomenon. And it looks like fire, but it's actually water. Now, let's start from the beginning. Here's what happens. And I'm going to show you what this stuff here is. We're going to talk about what we're seeing. Now, pay attention closely to the exact structures and so forth. Now, watch what's going on. They're showing it over here. Hold on. Let me open this up a little bit. Oops, hold on. You see all this sort of stuff, this little flaps of stuff coming down? Let's open it up and take a look at it. You see what I'm talking about? Now, this is what they see. And this only happens, well, I think they explain it here. Hold on, here it goes. So it's called the fire fall. And it only happens at a certain time of the day, and it's brilliant looking. But take a look at all these lines and so forth. It's a glowing waterfall. However, here they're going to say exactly, that's it right there. All right, here it is coming out of there. Now, so what happens? The rock looks as if it is split by molten lava. This is exactly the light has to hit this. So there's some, because it ends up just being light. Okay, now, what you have to understand is that light is a reflection of what's hitting it. So if it's being hit by all the rays of the sun, it comes back white because there's all kinds of things in here. But if it's coming from a certain angle through the atmosphere, just like you see like a prism, you see all the colors come out. Well, that's why this color is coming out like this. But there is something obviously in this water, because it only comes out for almost a month or about a month per year. Now, let's continue to watch. I want you to look, remember this, see these little lines coming down here? Again, there's going to be graphic stuff here, so if you got little kids, you don't want them to see graphic stuff, then that's up to you. Here it goes. Hold on one second. Okay, my friends, it's Roger, Mudfossil University. As you can see, I have a ton of videos. Now, I am going back right to the beginning here. This was 5 years ago. And these are the ones I want to put up. I just put up, well, I'm going to put up a couple of these a day, probably. So they go 5 years ago. Some of them, well, 5 years ago, but the research even goes back long before that. However, it's changed since then. Not everything. Very little has changed, to be perfectly honest with you. I was pretty well locked in about most things, all the way up until light and all of this. And I did it just like you would in a school. Tried to do everything, you know, one little class at a time, how clays work and carriages and petrifications and chemicals in the body, platypolar silicons, the stuff I sent to Cornell, and garnet, and then all of the this was where they did the CAT scans, and this was when I worked with Gil Headley on the fascia, and this was, well, here, let me just here's what I'm going to do. Like I say, these were the CAT scans, well, let me just show you real quickly. This was one about what I sent to have CAT scan. Let's see what it says here. Hold on. It's a lung that I sent you. This one right here, and it has these little pieces of bone on the back, and it's got tons of holes in it. So that should scan really well. That would be good. All right, and there's a bone I sent to. That would be good to see. That has some holes in it and should be able to breathe. This would be nice to have too. Fingertip.
This is the more complete that I showed the video of.
Now, Fabio is with Jesse Garant and Associates. They are literally, I believe, they are the #1 CAT scan place in the world. They do all stuff for every top, you know, Rolls Royce and everything else. They could scan car engines and everything else, racing car engines. And they've been doing this. They did this for me. Well, this was 2015. This was 6-7 years ago. Well, 6 years ago, I guess. Anyway, very, very, very nice people. Jesse Garant and Associates. If you ever need anything done, they are absolutely the sweetest sweethearts on the face of the planet. And they did this no charge. In interest of science. They are true scientists. Now, and some of the things like we realized into this, what you could scan and couldn't scan and how the porosity was and so forth. He worked with me, you know, they have a big group. And anyway, very, very, very nice people. Jesse Garant and Associates. Now, let me go back to let me jump back here. What I'm saying is, these are like skin and areolar tissue, fascia, and there's Fabio again, and stuff about Mars and sinkholes. And then I did a whole series of things about the problems we're having on Earth: bubbling hydrogen, sinkholes, the Earth is alive and in trouble, Mars crab, Russian holes look like the same things, which they are. Ancient Earth reveals its structure, strange beam, surface of the Earth is unstable. I tried to make this understood. Nobody paid any attention. Sinkholes, tropical storms, all sinkholes, atomic pulses, sinkholes, the problem, sinkholes, and then I just, well, what are you going to do? Sinkhole Grand Theory Part 2. Sinkhole sprites, missing planes. There's a million things that are the Earth is collapsing. They're sucking everything out of the Earth, and they're cracking the Earth. They're killing the Earth. The Earth is alive. And I think I'm going to show you in this video, right, I'm doing now, or I already have shown you. But trust me, I know what's going on here with the Earth, and the Earth is either living now, and I believe it is because of what I'm just going to show you now, or I just showed you, with this periodic display from this crevice. Okay, I don't know if I said this yet, but this is from Brute Nature, and it's Horsetail Falls in Yosemite National Park, and this happens once a year. And here's what I'm saying. I'm just sorry. It's graphic, but it is just nature is graphic. These little fibers sticking down here, those are muscle fibers and tissue fibers. This is the urethra, where the water flows out, and below is the vagina. And during this particular cycle, it's literally just like the periodic menstrual cycle of a woman. Now, does that indicate that's alive? I don't know. But if I'm right, it's kind of interesting that it's still doing it. And trust me, that thing is doing it. Or it's a vagina. Now watch. All right. This is what the vagina looks like. This literally is the buttocks that's eroded away. These rocks have all fallen away, and it's broken away a lot. But that is where the urethra lets out. Now, why is it spewing out water here? It's not taking a leak continuously. Well, you have groundwater pressure. Depends on how much it snows and how much the natural groundwater level is. These are like plumbing tubes. They literally are. All of the arterial passages, the digestive system, the urethra, so forth. These are the caves of our Earth. And they flow water if they break down into an aqueous aquifer that is pressurized. And this is what we have here. And that's why it's doing this. Now, periodically, just like a periodic menstrual cycle, it changes from not being exactly water to being something else. And having something, I'd like to know what that chemistry is, but here goes. Now, so it's actually just water, they say. But here's what it looks like. Now, don't forget, you see all these fibers coming down, these fiber. If we had a drone up there looking at these close, I could tell you exactly what they are. Well, I can tell you exactly what they are anyway, but okay, it takes on this color once a year. the last 2 weeks of February. Now look what's coming out of there. And this is way up at the top. I say this is the urethra area up here. Now watch what happens. It's got that brilliant glow to it, and I'm saying that is the vagina. This is the urethra up at the top. And this is all the fibers. And I'm going to show you this again, graphic. It's going to get real graphic in a minute. All right, this happens at sunset. Now don't forget, I said that it's related to the rays. All right, it only happens for 1 to 12 minutes during this time. But that's the vagina, that's the urethra. The sun is coming through at a certain angle, identical to like a prism. So it only hits with a certain frequency of light, and it reacts to whatever is in that water chemistry. They say it's just water. Well, it's obviously water, but it's not, there's something else in it. There's a solute in there that is whatever it is, and then it disappears because the light changes. It's free. Now that's pretty serious. All right, you see it flowing out of the top and coming down. Now watch over here. Look, that's it right there. It's a vagina. All right, and all of these are the muscle fibers and so forth that surround it. You see it? See, they're saying several factors. Well, I can tell you what they are. There's got to be enough water pressure to make it flow, obviously. There it is right there. I don't see any reason to go much further. You have to have clear skies. It has to be a certain time of the day. But this is what I want you to see. And we could go up there and actually investigate this deeply. But now it's going to get to the graphic spot. You ready? Hold on. All right, so outside of the obvious, your muscles are basically the same. All that fibers and cross and all that stuff that was hanging down there, these little lines, you see them? They're the same as what we just saw, except obviously it was a female anatomy. Now, like I said, it's going to get graphic. Your urethra is up here. That's where the water's flowing out. And the reason is it flows down to, you know, your bladder and all that stuff. And that breaks through, and that becomes pressurized with the water table. And this is where it flows out of. Now, and, well, you see everything else. Now, here's, you can see down here, I don't want to get in a shadow here. You see the fibers, the muscle fibers that we were seeing here? Those are the things that we were seeing all over the sides here. All right, I have other shots of this whole man. All right, so here we go. This is where the water is emerging. Below it is what I'm saying is the vaginal canal. Now, that would have normally gone up to where the uterus is, and that's where the menstrual fluid ends up being discharged once a month for a few days. Now, my feeling here is instead of it flowing out through here, there's fluids all through that rock face. And it appears that this is pinched somehow, and the bladder opening has just, you know, it's right there, and it's flowing right out through that tube and down. Now, if this is happening on a regular basis once a year in a specific time, every year, that's very, very interesting. Now, another thing I want to point out is this over here. Whenever you see a vagina, I mean, I'm sorry, it's just all over the place. I'm sorry, yeah, you can't help it. If you see this, it means that they have, this is the type of creature that would have multiple children. Apparently, that's what they say. Now, this is all I see, though, I think. Well, I'm going to show you, well, hold on. And if you see this, this is like a single child cervix. All right, so let me just show you a couple quick things. Okay, so that goes back 5 years ago, and you say, well, Roger, big deal, what does that mean? Well, here's what it means. It means that at that point I realized we were killing a living creature, our Earth. Let me get back, way back to, because I did a ton of videos about the stupidity of what we're doing. Fracking and destroying the Earth in every single way. All right, so where did it start here? I realized the Earth was alive right here. This was 5 years ago. Now, so then I said, whoa, we got a problem. There was a gigantic explosion in China from a sinkhole explosion. And inside these sinkholes, they create huge, enormous amounts of methane gases. Because there's nothing under them of a fabric. Once it collapses, same thing with here. That's a sinkhole fiery collapse. You see that? That's atomic energy. I'm serious. That when you crush methanes, they're primarily hydrocarbons, which hydrocarbons are the smallest particles anyway. Hydrogen and carbon mainly. Now, when you crush those with gigantic mountainous materials, you get you get atomic pulse. Here's just another one, sinkhole fiery collapse part 2. Let me see what else I do here. And then I started to go in strange beams of light coming up out of the Earth. And then sprite theory, why is this happening? And then how the Earth is collapsing, its cellular structure, and sinkholes and atomic pulses. And hydrogen gushing out of the Earth. And I mean, I did a ton of them, and nobody ever paid any attention. That was over 5 years ago. So now I'm coming back out of 5 years, and I guess I finally gave up. Every now and then I would post something, but nothing ever happened about it. Emmanuel Velikowski, that was 5 years ago, trying to save him from being lost in history. Probably very few people know his name that are listening right now. Anyway, this goes up, and you know, I tried to make everybody understand the living universe, space image, do we live in a universe that is a living organism? Yes, we do. And then I got into the dragon and everything. That was like 4 or 5 years ago. Now, anyway, so I got a little off track, but we're going to get back on track. Hold on. All right, these are the sinkholes that you see around the world. And they literally go down into a digestive system of some sort. And they collect somewhere. It's a cave system. And they've gone down into them, and they know they go different places. You know, they collapse here and there, and then you can't go through them. But some of them you can go through just like this, out into the ocean. This is what's considered a digestive system for the Earth. All of the debris and so forth goes down through here, and as the tides come and go, they come in, and then they suck it all out. And here they go being sucked out. Here goes.
Labyrinth of
That
caves
is
to the
a
inland
digestive
walls.
system. Now they're coming out.
And as we emerge into the open ocean, something looks weird. When the tide goes out, all the water from inside the caves gets sucked out into the ocean, bringing with it silt and hydrogen sulfide from the inland blue holes.
You hear when he said silt? Silt literally is what makes Mesopotamia fertile. Silt is a nutrient, really, for plant life. Even though in this case it's embedded in a dead zone, but when it becomes into clear water and it flushes it out, the silt is literally blood cells and so forth of, well, not necessarily blood cells, but it's plant cells. It's, you know, it's biomaterial that can be absorbed and used by, you know, creatures.
It forms clouds near the bottom with a distinct line between the clear ocean water above and the silty hydrogen sulfide layer below.
Check out the mucus
What
from
you're seeing
mucus
here are the
membrane.
decomposing remains of forest vegetation,
Yeah.
which have passed entirely through the caves and out into the ocean.
Digestive
Everywhere I
system to
find what
me.
look like strands of mucus floating in the water.
It is mucus, and it is secreted by this living digestive system. it collects over all the corals and so forth. And the corals have little things they can close themselves off. But that is a digestive system. I don't care what anybody says. If you know what a digestive system, that's it. And here's what happens: it collects all over the corals and protects them. And anyway, let me just let him finish up. Here it goes.
Protect itself from the hydrogen sulfide. As the tide carries the toxic water away, the corals will go back to normal. Finally, we head back to the boat. Tim and Mike.
All right, that's Mother Earth eating is what I was going to say. Oh, I remember, my friends. I was going to say, this is a living earth. That is a vagina. This is flesh and so forth. And that is the urethra, which is expelling water out of the tube because the bladder has been impregnated with the groundwater, and there's pressure in the groundwater, and that's how it escapes. Now, I showed you what I thought was a living earth, and if this is living, some change in the fluids coming out of here, which you normally would expect them to come out of the vagina, which is where the menstrual fluids usually emerge. However, in the case of this, where the menstrual canal, the vaginal canal goes down inside and so forth, and all of that organs down there, could have easily been pinched off at the uterus. And instead of coming up this way, it just flows with the water. It's naturally being pulled up and out through the normally open urethra. That's the only thing I can take off. All right, here's the same situation. There's your urethra, and there's the vagina. There's the fornix, I forget, fornix, I guess it is. Anyway, this little tiny split right up the seam here, that is what is from when the blastula, which is a ball of cells that when you form, it forms into a ball like this, and then it goes bloop inside, and it makes a layer inside and a layer outside. The layer outside becomes the outside of the abdomen. The layer inside becomes the inside, which has special cells for, they're two different variations of cells. And when it dried out after the flood, it split right on that seam. I'll show you. All right, it's very simple. There's originally a ball, and the ball is a big round ball, and it goes bloop, and it just snaps inside, and the inside eventually has a different type of a cell lining and compared to the outside. And then it seams right together, and then the inside becomes your abdominal cavity. And when things get dried out, well, first of all, in the flood, and all these things pretty much were in the Great Flood. And once they were in that salt water for a prolonged period of time, the salt has a way of getting in there and preserving the tissues in some form of a manner. They sort of invade it. Now, then when it dries out, and they sort of split, and you get a split like that. Okay, my friends, I'm going to make this just as explicit as I can. If these things are digestive systems, and we just saw that the earth is sending out literally mucus when it flushes itself of these digestive systems, and if it is literally having a menstrual cycle, I think we got issues to discuss about fracking and all of the extraction we have done on the earth. We need to look at our earth in a completely new way. All right, I love you all.